people. I'm Brandi Amara Skyy, and welcome to my channel and my home office. I am a writer and creative entrepreneur, and I'm also a writing and creative coach for intersectional, queer, and POC creatives and people who don't see themselves recognized or see their art in mainstream society. So I'm really excited about this video today because we are going to talk about the 9 biggest mistakes that nonfiction writers make. And so here's what I want to start off with, right? There are a lot of videos out there that talk about, mistakes that newbie writers make, but they're all kind of centralized in fiction and the fiction community. And as a nonfiction writer myself, I write personal essays, I write op-eds, and right now I'm currently writing a memoir. That word just doesn't sit well with me. I don't know about you, but if anybody out there has a really great term or another way of calling memoir, please let me know, because that just doesn't sit right or well for me. I don't know why. Anyways, so I'm in the middle of writing that book, and I was like, let me just search YouTube and see what's going on. And when I looked for the advice for newbie writers, like the stuff that I wish I would have known when I was first starting writing, there was really nothing. Like some of the advice that fiction writers give is really great advice, but some of the other things really doesn't apply. And especially as a non-traditional author, I'm a queer brown woman. And so taking all that experience and trying to write, essays and personal essays and, op-eds in relationship to what's going on in the social political climate, but also this story of my life, so to speak, the memoir. And so I was thinking, like, what were the things that I wish I would have known when I was just starting out? And so that is what this video is about. And I'm really excited about it because it is, like I said, really focused in and honed in on the nonfiction writing experience, and also those who are traditionally marginalized, and how to harness, as I always say, harness our otherness into our power and into powerful writing and art. So without further ado, let's get into the 9 mistakes that newbie nonfiction writers make. And let's just see where this awesome convo goes. So the first one is, I think probably the biggest one, is I feel, and I know from experience, my own personal experience, that when we are just starting out as writers, we fail to claim ourselves as a writer. And this is super important, especially for us marginalized creatives and writers and artists. We have to claim it first, because we are not going to see ourselves as often and as much in mainstream society. So we have to claim that ourselves. And what I mean by that is that I know when I was first starting out, I was afraid to tell people that I was a writer. I was like, I'm not a writer because I wasn't published. I didn't make my living off of writing. I didn't have the, agent or the entourage or all these things that we think make up a writer. And so for the longest time, I was afraid to claim writer because I felt like I didn't have everything that I needed to be a writer. And the reality is, beautiful, beautiful humans and people, is that if you want to call yourself a writer, all you have to do is write. writing is what makes a writer, not everything else. And so the most important thing that we can do for ourselves, especially when we're just starting out and we are just getting into this writing game, and as we sit down to write, is just claim that title and that label and soak that in. If you write, you are a writer. Period. End of conversation. So, number 1, claim your writerhood. Biggest mistake number 2 is that once we claim it, right? So we claim writer, or we, battle the claiming of writer as a title, because I still battle with it, and, I'm published. And so number 2 is we distrust our ability to express and use the language. Like, we distrust our own experiences, and we don't think what we are experiencing is art and fodder for our work. And so mistake number 2 is that we distrust our own voice. We don't trust our own instincts, and therefore we try to fit ourselves into some mold that we are not. I took a writing course off of shewrites.com, and it was with my favorite writer, Dani Shapiro. And in it, I asked her what her advice would be to a first-time memoirist. And she said, I have it hanging up above my wall as inspiration. She said, don't be afraid of your own idiosyncrasy. And to me, that is golden advice, because as people and as creatives who are not used to, like I said, seeing ourselves reflected in mainstream work, we kind of learn not to trust our experiences or trust the ways and methods in which we express them. And so part of coming into our writing and part of coming into our creativehood is really learning to claim ourselves as a writer, but claim our experiences and our voice and those things that make us different, and trusting ourselves to write it and get ourselves on the page, right? Like, so we have to begin to trust as newbie writers that we will know what and how to say and tell our own story, because guess what? You do. You are the only liver of your story. Nobody else will know how to tell this story but you. So number 3 that newbie nonfiction writers make, and this is kind of like one of those that is for all, is that they don't make writing a daily habit. And so this was something that I recently just made sure that I put into my schedule. So every day I write for an hour. That is non-negotiable. And this also goes back to, and this also will help, claiming that writerhood, like showing up to the page, and also helping you harness and listen and really start to emote and trust your experiences and your writing process if you write every day. And so number 3, write every day. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's in a journal. I don't care if it's an actual physical work that you want to get published. Just take the time and write every single day. Get that habit of writing and showing up to the page and showing up to your ideas and showing up to yourself. Get into the habit of that. I promise you, this is like the end all be all. This will literally change your life. I know that it has transformed mine as a writer, and even just as an observer, which as writers, we have to observe, right? Okay. Number 4 is read. I know this is kind of like, duh, Brandi, but a lot of people do not take the time to read or read deeply. And what I mean by read deeply is read like a writer. Read in a way that helps you absorb the kind of language and the kind of sentences and metaphors and everything that you want to embody in your own work. There's a really great book that I highly recommend. And I'm not finished with it, so I'm going to give a review, but I am not finished with it. It's called Reading Like a Writer. And so this has really taught me a new skill set of reading as a writer. And I think that that kind of close reading of our favorite authors is a mentorship and a way of teaching ourselves that we would never get in a classroom. And so every time that I pick up a book, I am looking for sentences and I'm looking for things that really help me hone my craft of writing. I even have a Google Doc that is called, you hear my dog Simon, is called Beautiful Sentences. And I write, the title of the book, and then I write down all these sentences that I love so I can go back to and kind of deconstruct them and see what is it about them that makes them beautiful. So a lot of people read like classics, and there's nothing wrong with classics, right? I'm not knocking classics. I think that they are a classic for a reason, but a lot of those classics are by white authors. And what we need to do, especially as, intersectional, non-white, writers, if that is indeed your identification and how you identify, is we need to start reading work from our people, right? And seeing how they express themselves. And to me, this was one of those things that I have to constantly keep searching for, because great literature, whether it's, fiction or nonfiction or poetry or, personal essays, we have to search and create our own kind of independent study of great women, people of color, queer writers. Like, we have to create our own library. And one of the things that I want to do is I want to create resources to help us to take all of that search work off of your plate and create something for you that you can just like look and go, okay, this is a great list of, POC or queer writers. And so one of the best books, and I don't know if I have it in my office. I think I do. Yes, I do. This was my first read of 2019, Mean by Marian Gerba. This book is amazing. If you are brown, queer, person of color, I don't care. Read this book. This is a really great book. I have a review on it on my blog, brandymarsky.com. Start reading more outside of the mainstream box. So on to number 6. Newbie writers often edit as they write. Biggest no. You've got to shut that editor off. You've got to just say, fuck this red line that's underneath this word. I don't need to know how to spell this right now. Get the flow out. Let it write a bad book. Write a horrible first draft. Just get your ideas out. Separate the editor, vomit out your thoughts and your words. It doesn't have to be coherent. You just need to get it on the page. So newbie writers really focus on shifting that editor out of your head as you get to the page and do your daily writing habit, and you start claiming yourself as a writer. Okay, number 7 of the top 9 mistakes that newbie writers make is that they take too many classes, or they have too many influences, or they're trying to do too much at one time. Totally guilty of this, 100%. And so this year I really said I'm going to focus on a select few tools and resources, and I'm really going to soak and dig deep into those. And so taking too many classes, whether it's, continuing education or online writing classes, learning about writing is not writing. And so as a newbie writer, yes, you have to learn. And yes, even professional writers, we have to continue to evolve our craft. But at some point we have to go, enough is enough, because a writer is somebody who writes, not takes classes. So this kind of leads into, what are we on? Number 8? Okay, number 8 is find the right mentor, find the right class. And to do that, you really have to, understand who you you are trying to be as a writer, what you want to invoke, what kind of things you want to write about. You need to get clear on what your, not flaws, I hate that fucking word, the things that you are not so good at. You need to find somebody that is good at those things. And so finding a mentor is really about figuring out, what are we good at? What are we not so good at? And how can we fill in the gap? Who can we find to help us fill in that gap between what we're good at as far as writing skill? Maybe you're great at description. Maybe, you're great at metaphor, but maybe you suck at like time and structure and, plot, scene. I don't know, conversation. I suck at conversation, like writing conversation. So I have found reading, mentors, via reading and an online source, a class that helps fill in that gap, right? And so the trick is to find those, handful, maybe 1, 2, 3 at the most, mentors, writing mentors, whether they're face-to-face, online, or just via reading a book in an independent study that you're creating, that complement the things and areas that you are not good at. And so the final, dun, 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 we are here, drum roll, number 9 of 9 mistakes that newbie nonfiction writers make and professional and longtime writers make. This means that this is going to be an ongoing enemy, is worrying what others might think. And this is most deadly, though, when you are first starting out, because you don't have the written proof yet. You don't have the things that are published. You don't have that portfolio that proves that you are good or you are a writer, or proves that people value what you are doing. And so getting in our own head and, the fear of what others might think is the number one killer when we are first starting out. And it is the thing that we have to continue to work on the most. And this is really big in nonfiction, right? Because we are putting ourselves and our lives and our experiences on the page, especially if you're writing personal essay, narrative, a memoir. If you are writing that kind of work, what our subject is ourselves. And so we are basically putting ourselves up, and our mind and our thoughts and our experiences and the way that we live our life. We are putting that on a piece of paper. People are reading it. It is displayed for everybody to have and form their own fucking opinion. And so it is even more imperative that we breathe and remember that only person that needs to give the okay and give the permission is ourselves, right? Hard lesson, a lesson that I am still learning and still trying to evolve from and with, because, and especially because in today's day and age, we have social media, we have Twitter, we have Instagram, we have Facebook, we have all of these outlets that people control our work and our writing and what we write about. And so it is much, much easier to get stuck in this mindset and in this negative spin cycle of caring what other people think. And so the only thing that I have found that helps me through this is remembering that there are people like you, there are people like my wife and my family and other writers that my work has and will continue to serve. And by focusing on the people that my work has helped in some way, that this video is helping in some way, that helps me to keep creating, even when I feel like everybody's, out to get me or everything sucks. but it also keeps the work humble, and it keeps me humble, and it reminds me, like I said at the beginning, that we are the only people that can give ourselves permission to do this work. And if it's received in a negative way or somebody hates it, that's on them. That's not on me or representative of my work. And so I hope that these 9 things have been helpful to you. It's actually been really helpful to me to, go through them in my head and remember, all of these things, because I'm still battling them, right? Like, I'm still going through that as I continue to write, daily. And so what I want to do to make this easy, because I know that there's a lot that I just vomited at you, I created a free PDF of the top 9 mistakes and kind of the big takeaway from each. And I have it, and I'm going to link it below in the description of the video. And I hope that you print it out and that it serves you in some way. I have it, I keep mine up here. I keep this with me as a reminder of what work I need to do, what work I need to continue to do, and what I need to focus on and what I need to say fuck off to, So whatever, I just want this to serve you. Print it out, don't print it out, just keep it handy. And on that note, my beautiful, beautiful gente of writers and creatives, I fucking adore you. You hear the plane? I love you guys so much. If you have any questions, if you want me to go deeper into any one of the 9 that you heard, leave me a comment below, let me know, and I will make another video specific to that. I really am here to help you beautiful writers excavate your work out of yourself, and I really want to be a support system for my fellow female, my fellow brown, Black people, Indigenous, all of you beautiful people, and my LGBT queer community writers and creatives. So any way that I can support you, please let me know in the comments below. I love you so much. Don't forget to download your seat. Did I just say seat? Your sheet. I love you. Till next time. This is what I have to deal with. It's constant. It's because I live near Love Field, which is literally right there. And Highland Park is over here, right? And so just so you know, Highland Park is a little city in the middle of Dallas. So Highland Park is here and Dallas is all around it, right? And so they've created their own little city because they're bougie and they want to have their own zip code and their own city. So it's Highland Park, Texas, but Highland Park is really part of Dallas, whatever. So they didn't want the airplanes to go over their city because, those people have a shit ton of money. Jerry Jones used to live there. I think Mark Cuban did too. And so they rerouted that into our area because, of course, I live in the neighborhood and this is being gentrified anyway. But anyways, long story short, airplane, wanted you to hear it. That's not what this video is about, but this video is about love and bad hair days because of the rain and the weather. I love you guys so much.